Hey guys, I'm Norb.
And I'm Mike.
And we are the Watchmen.
The men who watch.
Because if it's on a screen, we're watching it, talking about it, and sharing our thoughts about it with you guys.
Today we are going to review a foreign film on Netflix that you can watch right now called The Platform.
That's right. This is our first foreign movie review. But before we jump into it, just want to say a quick thank you to all the people who are watching us on YouTube. Thank you for being here today. And for those of you who are listening on our podcast, thank you as well for your support. And please continue to do so, like our stuff, and subscribe. And we hope you'll stay with us. All right, Mike, let's, I guess you want to start by talking about how we even got this movie on our list. So
Norb and I were talking about trying to watch something that we could recommend that you can watch now and something current. And Norb, you suggested this. You said it came up on your recommendations. You said your girls were interested.
Yeah, actually, it was my older daughter Sophie said I'd seen something about it on TikTok. So we were flipping on Netflix things, just things that were coming up, looking for titles for us to watch, as well as something that I thought we could do for the show. And this platform came up, looked intriguing, watched the trailer and had a lot of awards. So we thought, let's try something new, something that is current, just came out just a few weeks ago. And let's give this a try. And it was a foreign film, so why not try something very different here? So that's kind of how it popped on the radar. I threw it to you, Mike, and said, how about this one? You were like, okay, let's give it a try. So we did.
Well, first question is, this movie is a foreign film, but it was overdubbed with English. So I watched the overdubbed English version. I know you like subtitles, so is it safe to assume you watched the subtitle version with the actual voices from the characters?
We did, and I actually had to turn them off because what we found was that the English voiceover was not the same as the subtitles. They had translated it differently, and it was very disconcerting. It was annoying. It was like, oh, I can't watch this because what they're saying was basically close, but it was different. The words were totally different, and we had to turn it off. So we just listened to the English and didn't have the subtitles on. So yeah, right away it was like, oh, this is strange. So yeah, we watched it with just the English dub.
Well, I'm going to let you, Norb, how would you just, this is a spoiler-free review, clearly. If you're going to want to see this, we're not going to tell you the movie, so you got to go just watch it yourself. But Norb, how would you write a synopsis for this film in 2-3 sentences? I'd like to hear your synopsis.
Well, I did get a synopsis, because I was trying to think of a good way to put it. And there was a basic one here that I did find online, and it just basically reads, a vertical prison with one cell per level. 2 people per cell, only one food platform, and 2 minutes per day to feed from up to down. An endless nightmare trapped in the hole. So
why don't you let me go first? And the reason I'd like to go first is because I have my opinion, but you have 3 opinions.
Yeah, okay.
You and your daughters. So let me go first with just my thoughts, because then you're going to talk about not just 1 to 3 people.
All right, sure.
So going into this movie, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know anything about it, and you had suggested it to me. Getting into this film, the first thing that came to my mind is, this is the kind of movie written by a writer who is just trying to get a script made. Because every time I've gotten a script that by a writer that hasn't gotten any films made, they write a lot of character dialogue in an environment that's pretty controlled, meaning it's all about characters. And the writing itself was fine. He brought in aspects of, I notice writers a lot of times like to reference books, famous books, so he uses Don Quixote as a reference, and there's no spoiler there. That's just a book involved in kind of, so that they like to do that because then they like to take parts of the book and craft them into their storytelling and make the characters use that. So right away I started thinking, this is one of those writing experiment films where a writer tries to really go down some weird hole. And
good choice of
this
words.
movie is rated R. Thank you. This movie is rated R. It has It is not, how would I say, it's got everything that would make a movie rated RR. It is not for the faint of heart. Mm-hmm. This is not one to watch with young people at all. It is, and I can't wait to hear how you felt about your girls seeing this film, because it doesn't just have nudity, it has male nudity, which is usually in our country, in America, when there's nudity, it's never full frontal male nudity, but this does. So it's got everything that you want to really be conscious of if you're going to take a look at this movie. If you're the kind of person that is looking for something really strange, really out there, really just so off the wall bizarre, I think you might get into this. Again, this film, the way I would describe it beyond just the writing experiment that it was, is this film is an exploration in human behavior and what happens when the system turns into where you're a prisoner and you have to fight to survive, and what it turns people into. Kind of in a small microcosm of the time we're going through today with the current coronavirus. We've heard the news, read the stories about people hoarding toilet paper, people panic buying, panicking, and how when something happens in the world to scare people, they do things that are not normal, and it's a breakdown in society. And so this movie is about what being in this strange, weird prison does to people. And of course, it turns into a survival of the fittest, which is pretty typical. I mean, this has been done in Lord of the Flies. Many movies are about what it means when there's a breakdown in the system, or the system has confined people to an environment where not everybody can survive. And so who's going to survive, and how are you going to survive? And
I think to give it some context, I described it in a basic way, but to give it a little bit more context without giving away the story, I don't think this would give it away. But so you imagine that there's two people, you have a cell partner, and this whole thing is vertical, one floor, and there's this big rectangular opening in the middle, which goes all the way down. So if you step into it, you could fall to your death because it's hundreds and probably thousands of feet down, because there's hundreds of levels of this.
It's a platform.
It's a platform. Every level is a platform. The next platform is like, I don't know, 10 feet high or something like that, but of the people above you. So, and the mechanism that keeps things interesting is, one, you've got this food platform that travels down in the hole, in the space of that rectangular area. And the premise on how this platform works is that there's food that is a big, basically, banquet of food that's put on the platform at the top level. And it just slowly works its way down. So each level gets a shot at it. So you can imagine the people at the top get the first dibs, the people at the bottom, you get whatever's left. And that's basically the premise of the story, is what happens when you put people in this sort of scenario and you have this vehicle of survival that passes through. Now, each level has their own, like a toilet, it's got like a water faucet, and a bed, and that's pretty much it. So it's like it is really like a prison cell with no walls, or no, it's not like in a jail cell sense. It's just these, singular platforms, and this food thing that goes through. So, I guess before I go into mine, did you have any more things you wanted to add to your review? I just want to kind of throw the context of people understand how this platform worked before I jumped into it.
I have one humorous comment I'll save for a little later. I'll just say I've seen plenty of movies where it starts with someone waking up and not knowing why they're there, and then they slowly figure out why they're in this strange world or place, and it's that you're discovering along with them, what exactly is going on. I can say more, but I'm really going to just toss to you, Norb, and go ahead. Just have at it.
So I guess one of the first things that I would almost recommend to you, that if you do want to check this out, is that I would avoid watching the trailer, because the trailer is, sometimes trailers give away too much information, and I felt like I saw too much in the trailer. So I would advise, if you want to really check this out, that maybe you don't look at it, because
and I didn't
this is a movie.
Watch the trailer.
Oh, you did not? Good. Mm-mm. Okay, well then that's good, because for me, we obviously wanted to preview it first, but I think that actually did us in, because part of the I think part of the experience is completely not knowing anything about where it's going. And anytime you watch a trailer, you have a mental checklist that's forming because you're watching scenes and you're noting, like, oh, there's that scene where this happens. Oh, I wonder when that creepy shot of that happens. And oh, what about that part when this happens? And all of a sudden your mind now has these mental checkpoints of what you're looking for these things. And unfortunately, by doing so, I think we peeked at too many things that in the end took away from some of the discovery of the mystery of what was going to happen. So I agree with you, Mike. This is a bit of sci-fi, some suspense, and definitely some horror because there is some pretty graphic violence in it. If I were to do it all again, and hopefully my wife's not listening to this, I would probably not watch this. Would not have let them watch this film.
And I almost said something to you yesterday when we were chatting on the phone. I almost said, Norb, I'm not sure if you want your girls to see this, but I thought, I'm not going to say a word, but after I watched it, I thought, I don't know if your girls should see this.
But we did watch it. I had to fast forward on some things. So when there were some parts, where things got just a little bit too much, I did skip over just because I thought it was bad. But what I have found, and oftentimes we'll talk about movies and discuss whether kids could watch this. And this is where my kids are at that age where they're on the borderline now. Where I got 2 girls, they're about teenagers now. They've seen a lot of violent movies. They've seen, they're in that age where now they're starting to see more. They've obviously heard all the language, so that's not really an issue. Now it's more about things that more deal with intimacy and, more graphic stuff that's a little bit more.
Really, it's this. There's violence and there's gore.
Yeah.
And this had gore.
This has some gore.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that they've seen.
Yeah, because it's one thing to watch a battle scene where somebody, say, gets a leg chopped off and it happens in a split second. It's a whole other thing when you are one-on-one with a person and a knife. If you know where without getting too much detail, that's a very big difference when you are an intimate one-on-one, slow-moving situation as opposed to a big battle where you go, it's over before you know it. But a movie like this, the violence is much more in your face, intimate, and slowly exposed to you. And that's a little bit more disturbing. So there were definitely some parts where my older daughter actually doesn't like to watch, gory stuff. She'll turn away. So she definitely had a lot of turn away moments. My younger one, Vanessa, is a little more, she wants to watch scary movies. She's in that age. She reminds me of me at her age where I was already watching horror films. I wanted to see the scariest looking cover in the VHS store and rent that movie. I think she gets that from me. So she's got a little bit more of a draw to the curiosity of these things. So I don't think it disturbed her, much like Sophie couldn't handle it. But if I were to do it again, I would probably pass on it because I did not know what was going to happen in this film. And it's one of those rare times I just sort of took a chance and then went to some places like, oh, really? And so I had to have that remote on hand just in case it got bad. And there were a couple moments like, okay, let's skip real quick on this. I think.
But the point is, though, by the time it's bad, they've already seen it.
Yeah, but there's.
I don't know how fast forwording helps. To be honest,
sometimes it just ends Sometimes the scene is difficult just because it keeps going. You know what I mean? It's like, again, a leg getting cut off in half a second versus sawing somebody's leg off. There's a big difference, right? I'm not saying that's what happens, but I'm just saying the comparison, that's the difference. It's still a leg being cut off, but if you chop it fast, it's a lot easier to handle than one that gets sawed off. That's not what's in the movie, but that's the kind of different violence that's in this film. So if you don't like stuff that makes you queasy or uneasy, probably not one to see. There's definitely a social message in this, and you can imagine it by the way that it's, the setup that, you've got all the goods at the top. Clearly, you want to be at the top, and the people at the bottom you don't want to be in. And what mixes things up is that during the course of the show, they're not always in the same place. They move them around. So sometimes you're at a good level, sometimes you're way at the bottom. So depending on where you are, changes the dynamic of what happens when you are stuck with somebody at a level of, and you're dealing with desperation of what happens when there's no food or not much food left, and you're fighting over what's left. So it does definitely have a stated strong social commentary message, which is pretty obvious. And as the movie continues, without saying what the ending was, I guess now I'm going to kind of get to my wrap-up point, because I think we've spoken enough about what's the elements of it. For me, two things. The trailer did spoil it for me, because I felt like, because I already knew the big picture of where it was going, it was also the reason why, when it finally did finish, I was like, oh, that's it? That's the end? I wasn't very satisfied. The ending of what, in a show like this, where, like you said, there's a lot of talking, a lot of mystery, and revealing what's gonna happen when you finally get to the end, you want something to kind of blow your mind. You want something to give you like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't see that coming. I wanted that moment, and I didn't get that. It was kind of like, oh, really? That's it? Felt empty. As empty as the people who don't get the food by the time it gets to the bottom. So it was a little unsatisfying. My kids were also confused, and I was a little bit too. We had to kind of look up some online answers as to explaining what the ending meant, because there was some, which is good. There's something to be said about a movie that leaves you having to. It's not like crystal clear in front of you. You have to kind of interpret what it meant to you. So we try to discuss it first, and then look it up and see what different interpretations were. So that was kind of a fun exercise to try and interpret it, how it all went. But it just still, in the end, still wasn't satisfying enough to feel
like. It's interesting. When the show's over, I have a theory of what the ending meant that I'll ask you, since you did some reading and I didn't. Okay. Find out if my theory is anywhere close to what. So
what was your overall feeling? I mean, so that was kind of my feeling. It was. I give him props for the concept. I think it was a interesting concept. Definitely had some uneasiness that I was intrigued by to the end. So much about a movie is how it ends, and I was not I didn't like the ending, so it left me a little bit unsatisfied.
Well, this movie, it covers in all aspects the breakdown of humanity and what happens when people are pushed to the edge for survival. And you can imagine people do unspeakable things and they fall apart. And this movie explores that. But all those things that they've done are things that I've seen in other films. This is just done with a sci-fi twist and kind of a social concept that, is different because of the sci-fi aspect of it. But we've seen plenty of things over the years that explore what happens when people are broken down and they lose all sense of morality. I'm with you on the ending. I was disappointed in the ending. I thought this better have a good ending, because the further I got, it was a long movie. It felt long to me. And I remember I read that I think it was an hour, 34 minutes. And man, it just felt like I was halfway through and I thought, really? I got 50 minutes left? Jeez.
Yeah, it did feel longer.
But the ending needed to have a good payoff, and it didn't. And of course, when it did end and the way it ended, I'm thinking, this is one of those moments where if I were talking with the director, the writer, and I would say to them, what the heck? They would say, oh, come on, man. You gotta look past the circles. The circles mean light. They mean light and dark. And you have to explore deep into your brain that it can mean so many things. And I could feel the condescending tone directed at me, that I'm just an idiot because I'm not looking at the bigger picture here. But Norb, you and I have had so many conversations about how movies have 3 acts. Act 1 is the setup, Act 2 is the journey, and Act 3 is the payoff. And Act 3 is where so many movies fail. Mm-hmm. And the Act 3 to me was a failure.
Yeah. So yeah, I wish I could disagree with you, but that's what it was. And I felt the same way, where we have seen this before. It's a familiar theme, but I thought if they could hit me with one of those, I didn't see that coming, I would give it props. But it didn't. It had I didn't quite get it. There was a little confusion, but it wasn't like one of those, oh wow, that's an ending right there. And I was so hoping I was going to get hit with one of those. Because like I said, I'd seen the trailer, so I knew where the show was going for probably 75% of what I saw.
What a shame.
I was hoping that last quarter would be something else. Like the trailer didn't set me up to see this coming. And it didn't. It just ended with a sort of ambiguous ending that maybe some other person would reach something deeper, but it just wasn't very satisfying. A little confusing, which would allow for some conversation. and figuring out, but still not enough to warrant a feeling of, wow, I'm glad I saw that. That was really something else. I'm gonna have to mark that down as one of my top movies. Yeah. Too bad.
The one laughable moment I still laugh at is it's sci-fi, so the platform doesn't have any kind of mechanism to it. It just floats. It just floats its way down slowly. That's what it does, right? But every time it stops at a floor, it's full of food and it goes chung, 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 chung.
Yeah.
Like it's on this huge set of hydraulics, which of course we know it really is, because they had to have a really beefy platform to hold all the stuff it did. So it really is on hydraulics, but I just laugh at how then when it goes to visual effects moments, it's just...
Yeah, I know. In fact, that was a question that Vanessa asked my youngest. She said, how is that thing moving? And I said, it just sort of floats. Yet when it stops, it has all the mechanical equipment holding it. But when it moves, it's invisible. It's just floating. So why would something that floats make so much noise? It should just hover like it's an anti-gravitational field. But it's a great sound design thing. But again, I don't need to see this movie again. I'm not going to recommend it to my wife or anything. I mean, I think that if you are into disturbing, weird, social experimentation type films that will, kind of shock you a little bit and make you just kind of think, that is just so weird, I think you'd love this movie. Yeah, somebody will like it out there. And definitely, like I said, not for the faint of heart. It's got some disturbing and graphic stuff in it. And so you got to be prepared for that. But I said again, try not to watch the trailer, because you'll enjoy the journey more if you don't know what to look for. This is one that the trailer spoils it for you. So don't watch the trailer. just go for it if you're going to watch it.
I'm glad I didn't watch the trailer.
Yeah,
at least as I watched it, I got to kind of just soak it in as it was presented to me. At least I got that. Yeah.
So. It's amazing how when you watch a trailer, even if they just show flashes of images, your brain is categorically saving those images in my subconscious, and I'm looking for those moments. And it's in some ways, I almost wish the trailers would almost use more shots that aren't in the movie, just to throw you off so you're not assuming that you know everything that will be in there. Because once you know it's there, you're looking for it. And if you see that one shot that's really cool, you're going, okay, there's a really cool shot. I wonder when that's going to happen. And you're just waiting for it. And you go, oh, okay, there it is. It's in Act 2. So the other ones must be in Act 3. So again, and especially in a movie like this where there's not a lot of locations, you kind of, to build a trailer, you're going to be pulling a lot of scenes, which it's distinctly different acts of the show and different characters that aren't revealed in the beginning. So if you know who's going to show up because the trailer's sneak peeking you to them, you're going to be looking for it. And it did have an effect on, I think, some of the reward of finally make it down the stretch. But that all said, I still don't think it would have saved the end, even if I saw the trailer. Much like you, if I didn't see it, because obviously you did not see it, and it still didn't save the movie for you. So, But if you're going to go for it, don't look at the trailer. Just watch it and take our warnings into consideration.
Well,
don't let your kids watch it.
At the end of the movie, Netflix always likes to throw out recommendations, and one of the recommendations is, if you like this, you might like Ozark. And I thought, is that why this came across your radar? Because I know you loved Ozark. Is that why you caught this?
Well,
is that why Netflix recommended it to you?
Again, I didn't pick this. Sophie did, and it wasn't just because it was recommended on the list, but because she had seen something on it in one of her social media feeds, I think TikTok or Instagram or something. So it was actually her saying she had seen something about this that then made us go, okay, well, maybe we should give this a try. But unfortunately, I didn't listen to my wife had no desire to see this movie. It's not her thing. She was questionable even letting me let the kids watch this, and afterwards she even said, I still don't understand why you let the kids watch this show, because she asked me what I think. I said, well, yeah, it had some scenes.
Well, Norb, I'm actually with your wife on this one.
I'm with my wife and you on this one too. I now that I look back, I think they're going to be fine. I don't think they're permanently scarred. And I don't,
You think.
I slap on my wrist as a, maybe not my proudest daddy moment for letting them watch this film. I let them watch some things that normally I kind of know, usually in advance. So I'll let them watch stuff I know that they're okay with, or kind of borderline, but this one I didn't preview. So the fact that we were watching it together for the first time, yeah, that was probably I'd like to hit the undo button and let's pick something else, girls. I'll watch this by myself.
Well, I think the hard part is the fact that one of them asked you if, brought it to your attention. That's where it wasn't like you saying, "Hey, girls, I want to watch this. Check it out with me."
And usually they'll ask about a movie, and I've seen it already.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty good idea of what, I already know what's coming, so I can predict what they can handle. This was one of the few times I didn't see it first. So maybe from now on, I think if it comes to a borderline edgy movie or show that says rated R or MA for mature, I'm gonna have to do some advanced scouting before I unleash it on the kids, because this one was probably.
Common Sense Media is a great website to go to read.
Sophie's always on that.
Yeah,
she always
that's a
looks
great
at that.
place to-
Yeah, that's her handbook. Sophie will always bring it up before we watch the movie and see what's there.
Yep.
And I think Sophie would have been fine skipping it, but Vanessa really wanted. I think she was really intrigued.
Well,
I guess that's her curiosity.
Next time I get to pick something. So you pick this one, I'll pick the next one.
All right.
So I was
Sounds like a
racking
deal.
my brain for the surprise on, thinking, well, let's see. I'm going to have to go look through my platform collection to see what I can,
Or a
bring
prison
up
collection.
that has some relevance to this weird movie.
You find
And
one?
I finally came up with something, and I'm actually pretty excited about it.
Okay.
So a big part of this film involved food. And a big part of the food was dessert. Dessert.
Yeah, had cakes and all kinds of goodies. And
So my and I like dessert. I love a good cookie or piece of cake or something. And so as my thought process trailed into dessert and foods, I actually went back to my days working for Nabisco, where I used to stock cookies and crackers on the shelf back in the very early 90s. And I actually have a picture here to share with you of me very proudly standing with my tie, back then we wore ties, of my stack of premium saltines that I built. I'm not real proud of the sign behind it. It's kind of wrinkly, but I did the best I could with what I had. But that's when I worked at Nabisco. So along the lines of Nabisco, Norb, I know you like a good Oreo cookie, and so do I. But where we differ is that I don't like double stuff. And you do.
I love double stuff.
I cannot eat double stuff. Too much stuff. But you love the stuff.
There's no such thing as too much stuff. I think they should come out with an all stuff Oreo, and it's just the white part in a big row. I do. What I like about it is because sometimes I'll eat the whole thing as like one big cookie and just jump into it, or eat one whole one all at once. But if I want to do that separation where you split it open, right? You get the two chocolate parts and you scrape off the white stuff with your teeth. The nice thing about the double stuff, it comes right off. It's just like, and it comes off in a nice solid disc, so you can get that whole thing right there. Whereas with the other ones, you have to kind of scrape at it and clean it off. It doesn't come off cleanly. So it's got little, leftovers and stuff. So if you're going for that separation of the white from the dark, no socioeconomic or racial things intended here. But if you just want that clean white off of the dark stuff, the double stuff is the way to go. So I love.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the guy that one time ate an entire package of Oreo double stuff in one sitting. Which to this day, I still look at you in awe at having accomplished that, because that would send me to the hospital.
I could probably, well, actually, no. I don't know if I could eat a whole one now. I could throw down a lot of Oreos, but I'll regret it later. But it's so good going down the first time. But yeah, I did do that back, I think it was like college days or something. I used to have like breakfast cereal, and I dunk them with Oreos and have it all mixed together. So it's like cereal with cookies and milk all combined together, It was easy back then. Now it's like you pay the price.
Well, the conclusion of this story, Norb, is that Nabisco has come out with something new.
Oh.
And
share.
no intention to make this a Nabisco ad, but I'm proud that they took a cookie that I have always struggled to eat. I like it, but I've struggled to eat it, and they made a double stuff version, and I actually like it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is
no way, Nutter Butter
double
stuff?
nutty Nutter Butter. So they have have a double stuffed Nutter Butter, and I'm telling you, it made all the difference for me. I actually like Nutter Butters now. I always felt Nutter Butters had too much cookie and not enough peanut butter cream filling, and now it's perfect. It's perfect. So there you go, Norb. Double nutty.
I'm gonna have
Nutter
to try
butter.
some. All right, I'll have to look for that next time. Not get it around my daughter Sophie because she's allergic to peanut butter and probably put her in the hospital. But I will have to try that on my own time and get. 'Cause I like Nutter butters. That's not one I get all the time, but whenever there's one laying around, I'll definitely eat one. Maybe we have to bring one for our trip next year. Get some of those double stuffs. But yeah, I like them. I'm with it. I'm all in.
Well, it's the first time I've been all in with any kind of double stuff. So, you know, it's
Interesting.
who'd have thought? So,
Yeah. Wow. And you know, if you compare Oreo double stuffs or any type of Oreo or Nutter butters, they are platforms. There's the top row.
That is true.
There's the second level, which is the cream, and then there's the bottom level. So depending where you're at, you know, there's one better than the other.
nice job there, Norb. You brought it
right.
full circle.
I'd make the writer proud. I said, you know, watching Platform made me think about double stuffed Oreos. You really hit me in a deep spot. But your ending sucked. Anyway, all right. So thank you for the surprise. Now I'm hungry. Well, that's our review. So thank you for watching The Watchmen. I'm Norb.
And I'm Mike.
Yes, we are The Watchmen. And before we sign off, remember to hit subscribe, hit that like button, and all that good stuff. Keep following us because we appreciate you being in with the show. And if you can't watch it on YouTube, continue to watch it on our podcast.
Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching The Watchmen.
Please click on here to watch other episodes, and be sure to hit that like button too.
And please subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll always be alerted to any future episodes.
It really helps us out, and we appreciate it.
We'll see you next time. And remember, we'll be watching.